Who should become a realtor then?
Anybody can join the business. The question is, what are you willing to sacrifice? And what are your values? If you're just chasing the money, people are not stupid. They're going to feel that off of you. They're going to feel the pressure you're putting on them. If people see that you're not pressuring them and you're really educating them and you're really trying to represent, real estate is a sexy business. The idea of dressing up nice, driving a nice vehicle, majority of us in our business, we forget to work on the business.
As an agent, you'll only earn when you sell the property, or let's say if the market is down, then what's the other way to make the money?
So make sure I'm not procrastinating.
Right.
I don't drop the ball, I follow up. Great markets can create a lot of bad behaviors.
Like, how do you convince the buyers or sellers depending on the scenarios?
It's all about information. There's no convincing.
What do you advise? Let's say if somebody's getting the license, they should just start directly going the full-time into the real estate or start the part-time?
I'm not a big believer of a part-time agent. No difference than me getting surgery from a part-time surgeon who is a framer in the morning and doing surgeries at night. It's something that you have to commit. It's not one of those things, the idea of, I'm going to come in here and set my times and I'm going to be successful. Absolutely not.
I think the realtors are coming with the mindset that they can earn a lot of money because they have seen the other realtors with the good cars, luxury lifestyles. Even the part-time side, they'll be able to earn 80,000 to 100,000 a year. So what's your take on that?
It's a good question.
Today's conversation I had with Aideen, who has built one of the most successful real estate team in Saskatchewan. This conversation went way beyond just real estate. We talked about the mindset it takes to build from zero and the other side of business that people don't always see. Whether you are into the real estate or want to become a realtor or just trying to level up in your life, there was so much value in this conversation. Hello, Aideen. Welcome to One-on-One.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time today, and I'm very happy to have you here. So before we jump into the real estate part, we would like to know about the mindset that kept you going for this long, like till you're here. What was the mindset from the beginning?
It's an interesting business. My competitive edge comes I played college basketball and sports.
Right.
It's always kept me quite excited about competing.
Right.
So with the business changing every year, it kind of keeps you on your toes.
Right.
So that mindset of pivoting, challenges, new potential market, new buyers, different types of sellers, different types of homes, that always keeps me excited and grounded.
You started your career in, I think, 2006?
Yes.
And the real estate?
August 1st, yeah.
August 1st, you know the date? Okay. So what were you doing before that, like before the real estate?
I was a personal banker.
Personal banker.
For 2.5 years, yes. I was in the world of finance and
okay.
I was going to become a mortgage broker, but when I went for my interview in Century 21, they felt that I would be a better realtor.
Okay.
So,
like you thought to become a realtor, or I think that just...
No, it was always in the back of my mind. And when I was in Calgary, an individual approached me and asked me about becoming a realtor. And I almost took my real estate license. Then my older brother asked me to come home. I said, fine, I'll come home.
Okay.
Then I got a job at the bank, which I really enjoyed
for
2.5 years. And then I really wanted to go do the mortgage broker route.
Okay.
When I went for my interviews, actually one of the recruiters there decided that I would have been a better realtor.
Okay.
So I actually reached out to my realtor and I talked to her a little bit about it. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to become a realtor. Okay. No more mortgage broker.
Right. That's all working out.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So... yeah, no, that's pretty cool. So I think because the home expert team, that's one of the best leading team in Saskatchewan. There should be a really good mindset, the strategies behind the team, that how, like, which year you started the home expert team and what was the mindset behind to exploring the team?
So originally when I started the team, it was not about really growing it the way it's growing now. I realized that right off the bat, I started doing really well in real estate. I was very committed. I was doing 90 hours a week, 100 hours a week, didn't matter.
Wow.
I was up from 7 a.m., 11 p.m., 7 days a week. So that commitment kind of really got the ball rolling. And
Right.
then I realized that it's very hard to travel when you have your clients
Right.
still sitting here and someone to trust. So I started reaching out to some of my own close friends and I said, well, why don't you become a realtor and we'll kind of do this together. And if I leave, you can take care of my business. If you leave, I can take care of your business.
Right.
Kind of started like that. It actually started with, my close best friends. And
Right.
then I recruited my brother came in,
Right.
then my nephew.
Wow.
And the first person outside of close friends and family joined the team. And that kind of escalated things. And then we started growing from there.
Right. So there was like no plan to grow this big. but
Not this
there was-
big, no.
Okay.
The original plan was just a group of friends supporting each other. That was it. We don't know what we would like in the sense of running a business. We had no idea.
Okay.
We're just hardworking people and
Right.
good at sales, and that was it.
Right. And you started real estate like full time, like when you entered?
Full time, right off the bat.
Nothing else was doing.
No.
Okay. I think you almost have the experience of 2 decades almost.
That's right, yes.
Right. So, what was like for the Regina's real estate market? What kind of changes you've been seeing over?
Well, there's been a lot of drastic changes. So when I started in the industry, the marketing side of it was quite simple.
Right.
You used MLS
Right.
and you pound your sign in. There's a leader post, you put in a subscription, you ran your open houses. There was no professional photos.
Nothing.
There was no tours.
Yep.
Nothing like that. It was very, very 1, 2, 3.
Right.
But what's good about the industry at that time that there was a lot of good fundamental stuff that I picked up. Making sure you're making your calls, your rounds, asking for referrals,
Right.
making sure your clients and past clients are staying in touch with you.
100%.
So that was a good part about the business then. And as things started gradually changing and, even the way they changed MLS, because when I first started, it was a DOS system.
Okay.
So it's all coding.
Okay.
And then you pulled up your listings.
Oh.
And then they introduced the matrix system.
Right.
And, anytime change happened, everybody was kind of frustrated. But obviously the matrix system was a superior system than what we had.
Right.
But with that change, we've seen the evolution of social media.
Right.
Right? A lot of older realtors were not pivoting to that. And we
Exactly.
we really took that on and ran with it. And
Right. Because that was a challenging part for many of the realtors as well, right? If
100%.
they're not adapting the technologies and whatever they're doing on
Absolutely.
the social media, or maybe right now the AI world is growing so fast.
that's right.
So over the period of time, we'll have to adapt those new things to get the ball rolling, I guess, right?
And we did. We took advantage of it. We had great
Right.
people on our team that understood it. And we just got lucky in the sense that we found some good photographers and
Right.
videographers, and we just kind of
Right.
grow with their business and they were growing with ours.
100%.
And that really helped us take marketplace and market position. But now, there's so many different versions of the market that I've seen. In 2025, I think the future is going to be AI.
Right.
And realtors that are willing to pivot with that, I believe they're going to do well with it. And I'm hoping that we're going to be one of the front lines
Right.
that we're willing to pivot with that and not get stuck in the past.
Your team is specialized in different types of properties, luxury, residential, commercial, and all type of in residential like luxury, mid-level, low-level. Like how do you adapt those strategies for different kind of properties? Like,
Well, it's you got to look at it like this, right? So luxury for, let's just say for our family, when we came in here, we're extreme poverty, and let's just say we were lucky enough to buy a house.
Right.
Maybe all we could afford was a $150,000 house. And another individual maybe can afford $500,000 or $1 million, whatever that case may be based on their income. Luxury is based around what we could afford at that moment.
Right.
Right? So what 150 for me might be 500 for you and $1 million to another person.
Right.
We ran our business very uniform. But what we did in between that, I realized that if we could create expertise within the business, then the service goes up.
Right.
So instead of me trying to do 100 buyers and 100 sellers and 100 commercial, we have my older brother running the commercial side. The more simplified we made the business, we focused
Right.
on the service side,
Right.
the quality started going up.
Right. So like you split the departments, the residential side and commercial side.
That's right.
And then that's the way you can grow in the family and then the business wise.
That's
as well.
right.
Right. There will be challenges, and there was challenges during over the 2 decades. So what kind of challenges you faced?
There's been a lot of challenges because the market keeps changing.
Right.
When 2007, 8, I started 2006, so it was very old school. There was not a lot of mentorship. I think mentorship is the big thing about in any industry that you go in.
Right.
It's going to help your growth.
Right.
So when 2007 and 8 was 2 of the fastest markets I've ever been part of. There was bidding wars left and right. You were writing offers in the back of your vehicle. There was no, DocuSign. Everything was handwritten.
Yes.
Fax back and forth. So one deal could have taken an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours.
Right.
But one deal can take 10 minutes now based on DocuSign and the way the world has evolved. So those are some of the challenges. But then you hit the 2012-13 market.
Yep.
Most expensive market Regina's ever seen. But then the inventory was growing. Then our crash happened.
Right.
Rental market went down.
Right.
Investors were not happy.
Right.
Now you couldn't sell investment properties. So we had to really pivot and focus around customer service, different ways of marketing.
Right.
So it's been up and down quite a bit. Then, COVID happens.
Right.
Then you got a complete shutdown.
Yes.
So nobody knew what was happening to the world. COVID opens up.
Yep.
Market picks up. Now you're kind of trying to pick up all the pieces that fell apart and move forward.
Right.
Now 2025 is the new challenge.
Right.
Is the lowest inventory I've seen in 20 years with the amount of buyers that we have.
Oh, wow.
And it's extremely active. So, and it's almost catching up to 2012, 2013 prices.
wow.
So one, prices are high. Two, market is extremely active. Three, there's no inventory.
Wow.
So that's kind of a lot of the phases that you go through as an agent.
Right. Because as an agent, you'll only earn when you sell the property, and then that's how the realtor earns the money, I think. Right?
That's right.
So because of the market, let's say if the market is down, then what's the other way to make the money? Like
it's all about processes, right? Great markets creates bad behavior, and me and you had that conversation before in the past.
Right.
So most important thing that I preach to my agents and even to myself every morning, I make myself a contract. So make sure I'm not procrastinating.
Right.
I don't drop the ball. I follow up. Great markets can create a lot of bad behaviors. So when we're in a market like as such today, realtors might cut commissions. They might take shortcuts. They're not doing everything they're supposed to. But the market will change, and is actually starting to change as we speak right now. 5-6 weeks ago was a little bit different market than it is today.
Right.
So sellers have to reduce prices sometimes.
Right.
The question becomes, what tools do you have in place to have sellers their listings at top of the market, and what tools do you have in place to make sure the buyers are informed of the changes that are happening?
Right.
So those are key.
But like, how do you convince the buyers or sellers depending on the scenarios? Like
It's all about information. There's no convincing, right? If you educate your sellers and you take the right steps and you make sure they know everything along the way and you have the right tools, the conversations becomes quite easy.
Right.
I will call you, Dhrumil, and say, look, based on what's happened in the past 4 or 5 weeks, you see the analytics, you've seen the feedback, you've found all the advertisement, we're not getting offers, but these other 2 properties sold. These are the areas that are selling. What are your thoughts? And then you will come back and say, yeah, it seems like that we probably need to make a price improvement.
Right.
So it's very in front of our face.
Right.
It's never the convincing idea. It's making sure they're educated, and vice versa with buyers.
Right.
If buyers have a budget of $299,000 and we're looking at properties at $299 and they're getting bidding wars with 5-6 offers, probably not a good idea looking at a house at $299 on the first or second day.
Right.
If it's on the market for 2-3 weeks, then that's a good way. Then it becomes easier for the buyer to make those transactions happen more organically.
But we'll have to teach them, right, that with the information, with the stats.
That's right.
But because whatever they are seeing online, or maybe getting things listen from the other person, that I got this house with the different realtors. So how do you compete in that market?
Well, it's you got to be on top of it. One, as an agent, you got to make sure your agents, your buyers, are really informed. Two, the luxury of being within the home expert team, we carry a lot of listings. So we see a lot of things potentially coming out before it even hits the market.
Right.
So we can front load this conversation with our clients saying, these are going to hit the market. Maybe you can get a sneak peek before that. We don't know, right? But at least on making sure you're calling agents. If a listing is sitting on the market for 1 week too long, pick up the phone and call that agent for your buyers. Hey, I have a buyer, their budget is this price.
Right.
I know you're asking this much. Is that something the sellers would consider? Is being very proactive, not reactive.
Right. I get it. Right. 100%. Now, like to talk about the new realtors who are coming to the market. So what I've seen in the past couple of years, I got my license in 2 years before, and then after that there are so many realtors are coming. So I think the realtors are coming with the mindset that they can earn a lot of money because they have seen the other realtors with the good cars, luxury lifestyles, even the part-time side, they'll be able to earn $80,000 to $100,000 a year. So what's your take on that?
Real estate is a sexy business.
Right.
Okay. And again, we talked about this together in my office. You know, the idea of dressing up nice, driving a nice vehicle. But really, the majority of us in our business, we forget to work on the business.
Right.
A lot of us work in the business, and in the business is the, you know, running around showing houses and looking good.
Yeah.
But on the business is the basic fundamentals, getting to the office, making your calls, understanding the inventory. I'm not a big believer of a part-time agent because, you know, you got to ask yourself the question is, are you legally representing your client's best interest in the buying and selling side? If you're part-time, it's like no difference than me getting surgery from a part-time surgeon who is a framer in the morning and doing surgeries at night. Like if I'm going to get surgery, I want to deal with somebody that's only does surgery. Yeah. That's my mindset. And, you know, if anybody's coming in the industry, it's a very rewarding industry. It's a fun industry. It's an exciting industry. I'm in love with my industry, but it's something that you have to commit. It's not one of those things, the idea of, oh, I'm going to come in here and set my times and I'm going to be successful. Absolutely not. You got to be committed. It's exhausting, but it's very rewarding and it's very fun.
That's very rewarding. That's true. But like, who should become a realtor then? Like, because to become a realtor, they should have some kind of, at least a common mindset. Like, what kind of mindset?
I think anybody can become a realtor. The question is what are your personal goals? What are you willing to sacrifice? And what are your values? Right? Are you becoming a realtor to make money, or are you becoming a realtor to really love the process of the hunt?
Right.
You know, if we do our jobs properly, I've never had a client in almost 20 years never wanting me to get paid. Right? Because they're choosing you because they trust that you're going to help them with the biggest purchase of their life.
Right.
So if I'm committed to the business, anybody can join the business, but you got to be committed and you got to make sure you're putting the hours in. Right. Now, if you have some sales experience, if you have some management experience, is that advantageous? It can be. If you have some IT experience, I think it can be, you know, it's an advantage to today's era because the AI is coming in and really using those tools could be really advantageous to an agent.
But like, because people don't understand that because they'll have to commit a full time to become a good realtor, to grow on the real estate side. They're just focusing on the money side. So like, is this the only way to see the real estate, the career only with the money side, like good money, like luxury money and things?
Well, in my experience is this, okay? The top agents, it's a 90-10 split business. 90% of the business is usually done by 10% of the agents. Sometimes they call it 85-15. But everything that I've learned over my years, anybody that's at the top of the food chain in this industry, is that they're not chasing the money. They're really process chasing. They really love their career.
Right.
The money always follows.
Right.
Everybody else that follows underneath, unfortunately, if they're chasing the money, they're forgetting about the process, and the process is really customer service.
Right.
So people can come in and the market could be hot. Could you make a little bit of money? For sure. But the question is, are you going to last 10 years? Are you going to last 15 years? Is this really a career for you? Or is it a part-time thing that you're trying to really take advantage of the market, make a little bit of quick coin, and potentially being out of it eventually, sooner than later?
Right. But then because let's say people who are doing the full-time job and then getting a license into the real estate. So because they are new agents, they know that the market is hard and they will not get that as many as lead, so they can survive for their year. So that is the reason they are not leaving the job and doing the real estate full-time for maybe couple years, and then for maybe first 2 to 3 years. So what do you advise? Let's say if somebody's getting the license, they should just start directly going the full-time into the real estate, or start the part-time? Like, what's your...
The biggest thing I would tell you is first join EXP.
Okay.
Because for younger adults and agents, joining EXP, you know, you don't have overwhelming, you know, expenses every month. So you could survive.
Right.
2, really find a mentor. Right. That is going to help you skip years and years of mistakes.
Agree.
You know, I wish I could have started the industry and had a mentor and really moved forward. You know, I did have some mentorship when I originally first joined RealPage, because I went from Century 20 to RealPage.
Right.
Phil Robertson gave me some direction and, you know, how to deal with potential clients, and it was a lot of help. But I never really had a mentor in the sense of how to run a proper business. I kind of had to learn that the hard way, but I also had my brother who really was my ear and helping me adjust this as I went along, and really adjust the home expert team, and realize it was about quality, not the quantity of people on the team, and that really helped us take over the market.
Right.
So big advice, join EXP. 2, really get yourself a good mentor that's willing to share the ropes with you and take that information in. And when you're taking that information, practice it. Just don't let it go from one ear out the other.
Right. And then what do you recommend to start individually or just join in the team for the new
Depending who you are as an individual, right? Like anybody that I interview on my team, I always ask them, are you a team sport kind of person? Is that it? Do you need the community? Or are you someone who is a, badminton player or,
Tennis
a boxer
player.
or whatever, a tennis player, right?
Right.
Anything that's more individual based. And there's no right or wrong way of doing it. It's based on your own personal, characteristics. You have a team here, right? So obviously for you, team matters.
Yes.
Me, I grew up playing basketball, being in a team environment. That's really feeds me.
Yes.
It's not for everybody. So if you're an individual that really needs that environment and getting fed with that, then absolutely join a team. If you're an individual that doesn't need that, EXP will still allow you to have mentorship.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Have mentorship and still do your own thing and create your own brand. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay. So like when you first started, like you were doing all by yourself.
Yes.
Right. So like at that time, you felt like anytime that you'll need a team sooner, like anytime if you are doing individual thing, like because the money, it all goes to you. Like
that's right.
And if you're doing this team, then the money splits.
Yeah, there's different avenues of how teams are run and get split, yes. But, strength in numbers is always a good thing. If I ever come into a fight, I'd rather come with 4 or 5 people than come by myself.
Right.
That was always kind of my mentality, right? So you can share expenses. There's profit sharing as well in there. But really, you have to want to see individual team members grow. Right. I would highly recommend, if you want to join a team, you want to see people do well in there too, and vice versa. You want your team lead or other team members want to see you do well.
Right.
If that's not the environment that's really you're in, maybe you're in the wrong team. Maybe you're not even a team player.
You are probably an individual then.
That's right.
Right. So, do you think is there any kind of misconception about the real estate industry that you'd like to debunk?
I think it's easy. It's not. The easy part of our industry is opening a door. Right? Anybody can open a door.
Right.
It's all the in-betweeners. That's where it really makes it exhausting. My brother told me a long time ago, okay, you did this many sales. Yeah, cute. That's very nice. Can you do it 5 years in a row? Can you do it 10 years in a row? Yeah. That's really that's commitment and, loving the process. And so the idea of, having a nice car and dressing nice and I'm just going to make money by showing up, that's a big debunk. So don't do that.
Okay.
I'm not saying don't dress nice, don't have a nice vehicle. I'm promoting those things. Those are great things.
Right.
But really, it's much more than just, let me find the home for these family and they just love it and everybody loves that. But it's really the process you should fall in love with.
Yeah. So you should follow the process, be on time, show up every day.
Every day.
Right.
Every day. Every day. You might work every day, 90 hours a week, 80 hours a week and not make money for 5 months. Yeah. And don't panic.
Right.
Still trust the process.
Yeah.
The money will eventually come.
Right. So
because your clients will, here's the thing. If you're just chasing the money, people are not stupid.
Right.
They're going to feel that off of you. They're going to feel the pressure you're putting on them. Right. If people see that you're not pressuring them and you're really educating them and you're really trying to represent their best interest, then they're going to stick by you. And not only they're going to stick by you, they're going to send you a bunch of referrals.
Yeah. Go with the excellence, go behind the excellence and then money will follow you.
Always.
Right. Beyond the real estate, I think you do a lot of sports and charities and community work too. So how do these activities help you in the business?
Being out and about is important. Okay. We sat down when we made a business plan for you. I told you, look, doing a couple of activities. Why? Because one, you're enjoying that and you're creating friendships and you're working your sphere. And two, if somebody within those groups might know somebody that might want to buy and sell.
Yep.
And usually people like doing business with people they like.
Yep.
So one, activity is good for you, good for your mental health, probably good for your soul,
Physical.
right?
Yep.
Two, it's never a bad thing for business because you're reaching out to audiences you might never reach before. Right. So I encourage these things for anybody.
For any businesses.
Any business.
Not just this business. Right. I get it. Balancing your personal life and the professional life. That's the career, right? Because real estate is like if you are working, and then you'll be earning the money. But if you're not working, and today's time for the new realtors, if you're not working, then probably not earning that kind of money.
That's right.
So how do you recommend, or how do you manage your personal life and the
it's
professional?
tough,
right?
It's not work-life balance. It's more work-life harmony.
Okay.
You got to find peace at your personal time, because if you really want to be good at this business, it takes a lot of sacrifice. If you want to be really great at this business, then it's absolutely exhausting. So I think having great systems in place will create that harmony as much as possible. If you're going to be a young father or young mother starting in it, it's challenging, it's tough, because you're going to miss a lot of things that you don't want to miss.
Yes.
And I've individually, committed so much to the business that I missed a lot with my oldest daughter. I'm not missing as much second time around, because I've learned to put better systems in place,
Right.
and I have great team members that help me with the process as well.
Right. It's never ending process, right? To grow.
Never.
And then, so how, because we'll have to keep some time for the family or personal life, and then the professional life as well. If let's say if you are working, and then they might miss some of those moments for the personal life,
Yes.
maybe for the personal health. So we'll have to balance it at eventually to.
Well, the big thing is, clients are also understanding. Okay, be very transparent with your clients. If you're going to be an activity with my daughter or son, in this time I'm going to be away, but just text me and message me. I'll get back to you right after. Okay. Unfortunately, in our business, you could be having supper, but something happens. You got to get out that night. Again, your family has to be understanding the type of business you're running.
Right.
Right. That you can be leaving at any given time.
Right.
But trying to scheduling is important. And again, most times than not, your clients will be very understanding if you schedule things ahead of time. Right. So you could really focus on that work-life harmony as much as you can.
As much as you can. Right.
Communications.
That's
right.
Right. So now about the common misconception, like common what do you call it? The confusion about the real estate, that you should buy or rent. That's still a confusion for a lot of people.
Yes.
What's your take on that?
Here's my experience. And I'm going to only talk about Regina. I don't know about other markets. Okay. Regina is still quite affordable. Saskatchewan in general. What we're seeing with a lot of immigration communities, they're leaving. They come here for 2-3 years, then leave. And some are actually coming back because they're starting to realize the grass is not greener on the other side.
Right.
It's quite expensive. The opportunity is still great in Saskatchewan. And if you're going to be here for 1 or 2 years, I don't know if it's a good idea to buy.
Okay.
Unless if you're buying and you're comfortable with keeping that property as an investment and keeping it as a long-term rental. Okay? But if you want to be here for the next 5 or 7 years, it's probably a really good idea to buy, because you start paying yourself back after a certain amount of years as you go with the mortgage, instead of just paying the landlord. And there is always that opportunity that the market could lift as it did this year.
Right.
But, ways that you can mitigate maybe some of those challenges, buy properties that are good. Foundation, location, layout is always what I'm preaching.
Right.
Maybe there's a potential of some kind of income helper or rental opportunity in the basement.
Right.
That could, again, mediate some of your carrying costs.
But so it all depending on individual scenario. If they're moving or living here for a long time, they should buy. If not, then they should just rent.
Yes. If you're living long time, absolutely buy.
Right.
If you're going to be here for 1 or 2 years, buy if you're comfortable keeping a rental property for long-term investments in Regina.
Right. And about the residential and commercial as well, as let's say as an individual, they want to buy a business, so they won't be able to buy the residential property for themselves. So even in that side, people are getting confused whether they should buy the residential or the commercial properties.
Well, it depends. Okay, if you're buying a commercial property, then you're really going to investments. If you're buying a business, if you're going into a business, it's a good question. Depending if that business does well, then you can always buy a home tomorrow. If that business doesn't do well, are your personal guaranteed on that business, and it's going to affect your personal life.
Right.
So I might take on, if I'm going to really start a business, maybe I focus on the business first, make sure the business does well, then I would buy my family home, because I don't want to put my family at risk that business doesn't do well.
Yeah.
That's my mindset on that.
Yeah, that's pretty good. The one to look at that scenario. No, get it. What you had to give up to be in the position that you are in right now for over the last 20?
Lots of time.
Lots of time.
You sacrifice a lot of time, one thing that agents, we sometimes get into bad habits. We forget to work out and stay healthy. You know what I mean? Because you're always on the go. You might end up eating not as good.
Right.
You could give up some of your health.
Right.
You give up a lot of your family time. Depending where you want to be, what level you want to be in. The level I wanted to be in, I missed out on a lot of things. Everything for me was work.
Right.
But that sacrifice has actually brought us where we are.
Right.
That sacrifice is helping all my team members.
Right.
Now I can take the foot off the gas and really let systems take in place. And we have staff, we have buyer's agents, we have co-listing agents, we have commercial experts. But you do miss out a lot. And I'm not promoting that everybody should do what I did. It's not normal.
But there's a way to build that team.
Yes,
to grow.
There's probably a better way than I did it. I was put my head down and go to work and didn't understand systems and didn't have the proper mentorship. And, books are a great way to really take shortcuts. And, once you get along with that and really applying that,
Right.
you could miss 5, 7, 8 years of the mistakes that I did. And that's what I'm preaching to a lot of the agents.
But if you don't, like if as an individual who doesn't want to do that thing, then they might miss the groundwork. Like they will not know that this thing is required to be on the position. Let's say if they're getting the...
But they're not going to be in the business.
Right.
You know what I mean? If they're not, you can't come start it doesn't matter what business it is, okay? It could be a mortgage broker, you could be a restaurateur, you could, whatever business,
Right.
construction, whatever you want to do,
Yeah.
okay? I think every entrepreneur knows that anything they start,
Ground.
they sacrifice so much for the foundation.
Right.
It is vital to the success of your business.
Yes.
And that sacrifice means a lot of time is being spent on that business. There's not a lot of personal time. You're not traveling much.
Right.
You're not getting a lot of family time. And your family's also got to be understanding to that. But when you are getting those times, you got to stay very present, get off your phone, stay focused at that moment.
Right.
Make it count.
And anything happened to you? Like have you ever got distracted in your 20s or something when you were doing this, when you were building this business or something?
Have I got distracted away from the business?
Yeah. Like...
No.
No.
I wish I did, but I haven't. I just realized that I don't want to miss much anymore. Right? I don't miss I try to stay in best physical shape I can. So I make sure I train 2, 3, 4 days a week, minimum 3 days a week.
Right.
So I have to those are non-negotiables for me. I make sure that I don't miss any activities with my youngest, and I make sure that I don't miss a lot of things with my oldest.
Right.
Those are non-negotiables for me now. But to do those things, I have to have really strong systems in place and making sure the service our clients are getting is not being compensated.
Right. Okay. So if you were not in real estate, then what other path you might have chosen?
Well, I was going to be a mortgage broker.
Okay.
If I didn't do that, believe it or not, I was taking my securities course in the bank. I was going to become a financial advisor. So I would have been in some sort of service or sales, no matter what. It's like in my DNA. Could have been anything. But it would have been sales and it would have been people.
It's in sales and with the people.
100%.
Okay. So that's the main mindset.
No, it was non-negotiable for me.
Okay. Now, I think you told me about the one book, Ego is Your Enemy.
Wonderful book.
Yes. So what kind of other books or podcasts
I would recommend, having a group of people even reading similar books and even having minor conversation, like little small conversations and applying those skills. Ego is the Enemy is a wonderful book because a lot of times, a lot of the decisions that we make is ego-based.
Right.
And even the good or bad ones.
Right.
Another great book is, I would recommend, there's a lot of books I can recommend, is, Surrounded by Idiots. It's a wonderful book. If you really want to learn how to negotiate, go listen to the book, Never Split the Difference. Right. If you really want to understand what it takes to be an expert in something, go listen to the book. It's called Outliers.
Okay.
So these are all, and there's tons of books that you could really go after, but those are some great ones that I've listened to. And I think they're books that you could probably listen to once a year or once every 2 years to really remind yourself to keep those tools sharpened.
Right. Well, let's say good ego or bad ego. Like sometimes people do good things with a good ego. So what do you think on that?
Yeah, it's
of course
it's a fine line, right? Like sometimes I ask myself, like, I love training and I'm addicted to watching people win. So I ask myself the question: am I being nice, or was that feeding my ego? You see, it's a very gray area.
Right.
So I always try to my best not to feed the ego
Right.
as much as possible and really do what's in the best interest of those people.
Right.
But my ego is fed by my agents winning and doing well. So you see, it's not
That's-
a negative thing to have an ego.
Right.
Just understanding how to use it and when to use it
In a good way.
in a good way,
100%.
as best as possible.
Right.
And having good mentors. Sometimes you don't know it's your ego, you're hitting that wall. Reaching out, having different conversation, having a different perspective. Then having the same conversation two, three times in the same scenario. Then sometimes you might react very different on the first day
Right.
than you did on the third day because you might have been very emotional on the first.
Right. And any advice for the younger Aideen that you'd like to give that
You know, the younger Aideen was very stubborn.
Okay.
Remember I told you that? I was stubborn like wood.
Yes.
You bend me, I would snap. Today I'm stubborn like plastic. You know, put enough information on me, I'll turn into liquid. And I wish I could go back and say, pick up a couple of books, you know, and don't let your ego come in the way. And really focus on the service because I was so sales driven, not service driven.
Right.
That was the first 5 years of my business.
Right.
And I did extremely well because I could sell and I could work.
Yes.
But I didn't know how to really take a big place in the market.
Right.
And I didn't really know how to lead.
But those things, I guess, I think those things were important too, right? To be on the position that you are in right now.
Sure.
Because of those mistakes and things
Absolutely.
happen.
Absolutely. But you know, but I'm trying to make sure the agents that are around me, even my own kids, like, don't make my mistakes. You know, here's some information, do what you want with it.
Yes.
You know, we sat down, here's the business plan we made for you.
Yes.
We'll sit down again and we'll go over it.
Right.
Here's what you got to do. But I can't make you do something you don't want to do.
But they're gonna make some kind of mistakes. Not
It's
your
okay.
mistakes, right? But they're gonna
But fall forward when you're making those mistakes.
Right.
Don't make the same one 10 times.
Right.
Right? And pick up the phone and have a conversation. You might be surprised how many times you might avoid those mistakes.
Any individual business owners, not just towards the real estate industry, for whosoever starting the business, because you should have the open mindset and broad mindset for the businesses and not letting the other things or maybe other distractions to which would problem your business. So what kind of advice?
Well, you know, I think we always have to pivot. You know, stubborn like plastic is probably a good way of looking at things. You know, our markets are changing in everything, right? Like even retail, like inflation, cost of things have gone up. Less people can go out and eat. Less people can buy nicer things. So pivoting and understanding how can you cater your business to service those clients.
Right.
I think that's always challenging, right? But making sure you have good people around you and even sometimes talk to your competitors and see how they're doing.
Okay.
Pay attention to your competitors, see who's doing well and who's not doing well. And take them out for lunch, take them out for coffee. It's not a bad idea. You might be surprised how much people are willing to share their mistakes or their wins with somebody else.
That'll help eventually
Absolutely.
to grow your anime. So the main thing, how to sum up everything, right? So you'll have to be broad mindset, be good with the people and around with the good people, go on a coffee, even with the competitors, and learn mistakes, whatever they did, and then you can learn from the other mistakes and your mistakes to grow on a good level.
That's right.
Right. Okay. No, perfect. No, thank you so much for your time today.
It's my pleasure. I hope this helped.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Let's
I
do it
think
again.
it's gonna help a lot of individuals who are starting in the real estate and individuals as well for the businesses, and of course with the personal health, personal things as well.
And you know, one thing like I want to say, like all realtors were indirectly business partners, right? Me, myself as an agent, it's been a long, long time. I want young agents to come in and I want them to be trained properly because we're going to end up doing business together. And that's going to make both our lives easier. And hence, it actually makes both the buyers and sellers business easier. So there's so much room for a lot of agents in this industry.
Right.
I just hope people are going to take some of these suggestions and apply it and let's have some fun.
Right. No, 100%. Okay, dokie. No, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for
Aideen.
having me. It was wonderful. Appreciate it.
So that's a wrap on today's episode with Aideen. I really enjoyed this conversation, hearing about his mindset, how he built his team, and the honest truth behind the real estate journey. And if you think this conversation could help to someone, please do share with them. Thank you so much for watching. Till then, I'll catch you in the next one.